Hello, my name is Chris Koliba. I'm a professor in Community Development, Applied Economics, and a Gunn Fellow. The title of my talk is Democracy, Markets, and Leadership, Oh My! Accountability Breakdowns in the BP oil spill disaster. I'll be taking a little literary license, a little transdisciplinary analysis that was inspired by this title as I came up with it for Deirdre. And we're going to be using this on the backdrop of The Wizard of Oz and the three icons of that tale. This work stems from a peer-reviewed publication recently coming out by my former student, Russ Mills, and the central research questions are, how does system-wide failure result from breakdowns in the accountability structures of a governance network, or who's responsible for this spill? The framework that we use to analyze this has been introduced into literature by myself and colleagues, including Asim Zia, looks at the narrative of democracy versus markets versus leadership. And then we differentiate these frames in subcategories that I'll explain a little bit later on. Disasters are a window into the governance of accountability, and we can see this with the Challenger and Columbia disasters, certainly the Katrina disaster, the BP oil spill, tornadoes, and as we can say, when disaster strikes, you're not in Kansas anymore. If we use the Wizard of Oz as a metaphor, it's been used before many times as a monetary allegory in terms of the balance and wholeness in organizations, as a cultural narrative in terms of psychotherapy, and one of my favorites, the relationship between the Wizard of Oz and the dark side of the moon. If you don't know that connection, look it up. The serendipitous alignment of accountability framework with the Wizard of Oz that I discovered and stumbled upon in preparation for this talk. The agrarian idea of Jeffersonian democracy embedded in the identity of the scarecrow. The industrialization ideal of the technological control of the environment that's embedded in the Tin Man. And the leadership ideal of the great man, it's embedded in the cowardly lion. Looking at turning our attention to the case at hand, the BP oil spill, we're probably all very familiar, 2010, largest ecological disaster to strike the United States. Major actors include BP, Transocean, Halliburton, and the Bureau of Mineral Management and Services. Dozens of people died, billions of gallons of oil spilled. We know the consequences. Some data to show. Relative to the accountability breakdowns, relative to the government capacity to regulate deep well offshore mining. The light blue is the number of unplanned visits. The dark blue is the number of planned visits. You can see a drop-off. This shows an architecture of the decision-making and the faulty decision-making and basically the perfect storm that resulted from this. Series of decisions were made on the rig and off the rig, all cascading into the calamities that we have seen the results of. So where were the accountability breakdowns in this context? Well, the market accountability failures, we see profits over planet. The leadership accountability failures, we see that the professional engineers should have exercised better judgment. They should have known better. And the accountability framework failures in this context, the elected officials' neglect, the stripping of MMS's power over many years, all resulting. So what are the conclusions? Can anyone give me an example or give me a sense? What would those conclusions be? Democracies, if they only had a brain, right? We can only design our democracies, our governments to be smarter. Markets, we can only have our market-based institutions to care more about people and profit and planet and leaders. If we only had the nerve, if we can get our administrators, managers, engineers, regulators, and scientists to be more courageous. The stakes are real. Ask me at the break how we applied this framework to Katrina and FAA, and thank you very much.